Alone and alienated, I wandered the tracks. Perhaps it was the bourbon I'd been hitting all day. But my judgment was temporarily clouded. And when a battered van pulled up and two strangers offered me a ride and some more bourbon, I accepted. They said their names were Dan and Patrick. They were on tour with their band, they said, though I saw no evidence of instruments. A group called the Black Keys, I gathered, though they didn't look like any rock and roll stars I'd ever seen.
Don't touch the duct tape.
Reconsidering my decision to join them in their van of death and possible dismemberment, I decided to humor them, divert them perhaps with some fine barbecue. Schlogel's Woodyard Barbecue seemed the perfect place to give them the slip. First and foremost, a woodyard that provided fuel to Kansas City pitmasters, they decided they might as well get in the game themselves. The Black Keys, as they call themselves, claim to have driven all the way from their hometown of Akron, Ohio, a known breeding ground for serial killers, by the way.
When we first started touring, we had $5 a day we could each spend on food. Dan, though, would usually save his money to go eat wonton soup.
Bad Chinese food is really...
It's awful. It's really bad.
Especially bad wonton soup.
Yeah, the real thick wonton noodle. That being said, I welcome that bowl of soup over like some sort of weird burger patty that's just like unidentifiable and gross, you know?
At the Woodyard, it's all about the wood, actually. Not hickory like you might expect, but a mix of apple and cherry.
That might be the perfect food right there.
Yeah.
The pickles are my favorite part of the I have to say.
What's one of your Guy Fieri jokes?
I mean, it's just so easy, you know?
Every single episode is the same thing. He's always eating giant burritos, and he's always like, bitchin' burrito, bro. Oh, the sweet, then the heat. Oh, man. Might be the best.
Got to do the faux gang sign.
I worked in restaurants for 5 years.
I met the craziest characters working in kitchens.
Crazier than music?
Yeah.
The owner of the restaurant I worked in carried a little briefcase around with his handgun in it. And he was doing a lot of cocaine, and he would get furious about something. He would like take a toaster out back and just shoot the out of it.
That seems entirely reasonable to me.
Right, because you worked in a kitchen.
Though my ribs and brisket were delicious, I could barely choke it down, my throat constricted with fear. Perhaps I could sharpen a bone from one of these tasty, tasty chicken wings. Use it as a weapon if need be.
Which is more satisfying, the record or the touring?
We've grown to really love playing shows.
The only way to really make a living,
Is the live.
Yeah.
pretty much.
But you're not going to be selling any lunch boxes anytime soon?
I mean, we would. We'll sell whatever. We don't care.
Really? Is there money in merch? Should I be looking at merch? I'm serious. You guys are selling T-shirts out of the back of the car.
You seriously don't sell T-shirts?
I don't sell T-shirts. And apparently I'm an idiot. What would be on my T-shirt?
You could put anything on there.
In the end, they didn't kill me or make a skin suit out of me. For transients who claimed to be in a band, these Black Keys guys turned out to be okay. In fact, within hours of this meal, they became the #2 album in the country and sold out Madison Square Garden in 15 minutes. From the late 1800s until sometime in the 70s, organized crime's influence over Kansas City was pervasive. They pretty much had the town all sewed up. It all began around the turn of the century with an influx of Sicilian immigrants and a sinister extortion operation called the Black Hand. Pay or die was pretty much what it meant. From this tiny acorn grew a mighty but rotten oak. What brought the Kansas City mob to national attention was the Kansas City Massacre, where 4 law enforcement officers, including an agent of the FBI, were shot and killed during a bungled attempt to free a prisoner. Tom Pendergast was the political front for a seething underworld. Fixed elections, a bribed police force, fraud, intimidation were pretty much the order of the day. The machine was so powerful that there would very likely have been no President Truman without Pendergast and the mob. When Truman ran for Senate, Pendergast provided 75,000 fraudulent votes, propelling him to victory and the national stage. Through the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the outfit was run by the less than amiable Nick Savella, who ended up dying in prison. It is my belief that behind Citizen Kane and the early works of Roberto Rossellini, the Patrick Swayze masterpiece Roadhouse is the finest film ever made. Back in the bad old days, Kansas City was not too far from that world of corruption, crime, and violence.
It took 20 years before people in this town were really comfortable writing about that subject.
Local expert Terrence O'Malley meets us at BB's Lawnside Grill to discuss those times.
I mean, the Italian community here, their lives were touched by it. You know, their relatives were, at one point or another, they were either perpetrators or they were victims of it, and it was a very real thing to them.
Lawnside's been selling the blues and barbecue for over 20 years and feels like the kind of place where Swayze's otherworldly mullet could have blown free.
And this is a God-fearing section of the country, still is.
Yeah.
Why is it in those same states? I mean, if you're looking for the vice capitals of America, I mean, you had naked lunch here.
Yeah, yeah.
Right back in the 30s, the
Absolutely.
Chesterfield
Club, where waitresses wore cellophane aprons and the pubic hair was carved in the shape of pips of cards, you know, hearts, clubs, diamonds.
This is for lunch in the 30s.
Yeah. Soup.
Do you have this in Russia?
No, not yet. I'm coming. That's why I'm making notes.
Here it suggested you want the burn ends, also ribs, and the catfish. Yes, definitely the catfish.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Wow, that's a big damn fish.
We got smoked catfish, we got burnt ends, we got pork ribs,
And beer.
and beer.
Yeah.
I think all our basic food groups are covered here. Thank you. The ribs are indeed awesome. So not only do they have relatively smart mobsters here, but unlike many cities, the mob and the political machine grew up together.
Absolutely. Boss Tom Pendergast had control of the town for 13 years.
As I understand it, he kept the police salaries deliberately low so that they would have to go on the take just to get by.
That's absolutely right, which of course led to the jazz scene here because Boss Tom allowed all the sin businesses to thrive.
I mean, this was where swing sort of morphed into bebop, some say.
It did, yeah, it did. And of course, you know, Charlie Parker took that and took it to New York. So that's
Right.
one of the positive benefits to political rule at the time.
The mob, being free market types to say the least, inadvertently brought enlightenment in the form of jazz, jazz dancing, jazz hands, and gay bars, leading to R&B and even rock and roll. If there was money in it, fine with them.